Congresswoman Rashida Tlaibs calling for the diminishing role of our nation's top immigration agencies, including ICE and Customs and Border Control, even really the Department of Homeland Security writ large. This comes from her in response to the Biden administration requesting $665 million to modernize land ports of entry and an additional $47 million for border surveillance technology. A lot of Republicans say the Congresswoman here is way off base.
They want to turn America into a sanctuary country for all illegal aliens from around the world. And now that logic is being extended to our Border Patrol and Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, even all of DHS.
I think open border chaos is exactly what she wants. You can't be that dumb to think that if you take away funding from those agencies that protect our border, that somehow you're not going to have chaos at the border.
House Minority Whip Steve Scalise joins me now. Congressman, thanks so much for taking time for us today. With this current iteration of calls for defunding and diminishing the role of Department of Homeland Security, and I say this current iteration because it's certainly not the first time we've heard calls for this from progressives. Do you get the sense from where you sit that this push is coming from the president, or is it likelier that it's coming from the progressive wing of his party, maybe even including Vice President Kamala Harris? It seems to me from where I sit, there's a little bit of a divide.
Yeah, Jillian, it's good to be with you. And frankly, it's very disturbing when you hear a sitting member of Congress referring to people who are keeping our nation secure as terrorists. I've been down with the Border Patrol agents. I went down there a few months ago, and we actually went and saw just how out of control the border is because of President Biden's policies, where he's literally opened the border. The real big concern is that right now it's the drug cartels from Mexico who have operational control over America's southern border. And the Democrat Party has become more and more in Washington the party of defunding police, defunding Border Patrol, defunding ICE. Who's standing up for Americans who are hardworking, who want to have a functioning legal system of immigration, including, by the way, the millions of people who come here legally, who wait in line, who follow the process. And so I think they're first of all, they're way out of step with the American people. But the left, the far left radical base of the Democrat Party is controlling the agenda, and President Biden is letting them write these policies. He has yet to stand up to any of them. I'm curious to see, Jillian, is President Biden going to speak out against a sitting member of Congress referring to our Border Patrol agents as terrorists, people who work for his Department of Homeland Security? Yeah. He's yet to show he's willing to stand up to them.
Interesting. So it seems like you're saying it's one thing for the president to not be on the same side and not overtly support these policies. It's another thing if he's actually going to take a stand and condemn the people in his party that are calling for these moves. I want to make sure, sir, that we get your take on big tech today, because it's a very hot story for us. On the same day that former President Trump announced his lawsuit yesterday against Facebook and Google and Twitter, we did have a House caucus. Republicans unveiled this legislative agenda to break up big tech and crack down on censorship. The House Judiciary Committee ranking member Jim Jordan said he's spearheading the effort, and he wants big tech has targeted conservatives for far too long. House Judiciary Republicans have had enough. So my question for you, sir, is, we've been hearing for months, years, really, threats from lawmakers, both sides of the aisle, to rein in and really legislate big tech, the social media companies. You guys excel at these marathon hearings where you drag the CEOs up to the Hill, you demand answers from them, but we've seen really very little by way of legislation. Is this the big kahuna push now that we've all been waiting for, do you think?
Yeah, this has been growing for a long time, and frankly, Republicans and Democrats both have concerns with big tech for different reasons. On our side, we're very concerned about the censorship that you're seeing of conservative voices, way more than you see other voices being censored by big tech. I think that's what President Trump was getting at. But what Leader McCarthy did is rolled out a bunch of task forces, one of them dealing specifically with big tech. Jim Jordan's going to be involved. Catherine McMorris Rodgers is going to be involved. All of our leading Republicans in those subject areas are going to be focused on how to hold big tech more accountable. And also, by the way, standing up for transparency and for the privacy rights of everyday Americans who right now, no matter what app you're using, they're tracking things that you may not even realize. And there's very little way for a consumer to find out exactly what is being tracked on their device. If you're just having a conversation with a friend about going hiking, next thing you know, you're getting things fed to you, advertisements about hiking. You never even typed anything into a Google search. So those are the kind of things that people are very concerned about. And we're looking into all of that and putting a task force together so that we can come out with true legislative proposals.
So there is this perception, sir, here in Washington at least, that Congress writ large is busy sort of fixing the problems of 2 to 10 years ago when it comes to holding big tech accountable. I hear a lot of critics saying, you guys, lawmakers, are about 2 to 10 years behind the problem. You're kind of building the Maginot Line and solving the problems of decades ago when these big tech companies are moving in leaps and bounds and coming up with new innovative ways to try and gather data from Americans so that they can keep it. They can essentially resell that, repackage and then resell that data to companies, some of them foreign. What are you doing on that end of the spectrum?
Yeah, look, I used to write software for a living. I have a computer science degree. And one of the things I've always said is the technology community can innovate faster than Congress can legislate. And, one of the things you've got to look at now is privacy is the next realm. And it's not, you don't pay for apps anymore. It's because they're aggregating data from people who use these apps, and people have very little information about just what is being tracked, just what data is being collected and then sold, unbeknownst mostly to the consumer. It's very hard to even find out what that information is that they're tracking and selling in aggregate form. And so trying to get a better handle, getting more transparency is going to be something real important that we're going to try to do.
Well, Congressman, thanks for taking time to break it down for us today. We wish you the best with the task force going forward. Please come back to check in with us sometime soon.
Will do. Thanks, Jillian.
You bet.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.